The year is 1889. In the small town of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, a 36-year-old man stands at the window of a mental asylum, gazing out into the night. His name is Vincent Van Gogh. Through the iron bars, he sees the heavens alive with light, an infinite swirling tapestry of stars. They pulse and spin, almost mocking the stillness of the room he cannot leave. Outside, the cypress trees sway in the wind, their dark, flame-like forms reaching into the cosmos. Inside, he is a prisoner of his own mind. Just a year earlier, Vincent had been living in Arles, hoping to build a community of artists. He dreamt of a shared studio, a place where creativity could flourish, a beacon of hope in a life marred by loneliness. But Arles had turned on him. The neighbours called him Fou-Rou, the crazy redhead. The dream had crumbled, and after a violent altercation with his closest friend Paul Gauguin, Vincent had taken a razor to his own ear. Now in the asylum, he's consumed by guilt, isolation, and a desperate desire to create something meaningful. Each day he battles the demons in his mind, sketching feverishly, trying to capture the beauty he sees but cannot reach. It's in this fragile state, his body weak, his spirit battered, that Vincent paints what will become one of the most iconic works of art in history, the Starry Night. But why? Why does this painting, born of such torment, resonate so deeply with us today? To understand the Starry Night, we must first understand Vincent van Gogh, a man who lived with an unrelenting hunger for connection and beauty, yet seemed destined to exist on the edges of both. Vincent wasn't always a painter. In fact, he only began seriously creating art in his late 20s. Before that, his life was a series of false starts and crushing disappointments. He worked as an art dealer, a teacher, and even a missionary, but nothing seemed to stick. By the time he decided to dedicate himself to painting, he had failed at almost everything he had tried. Yet, it wasn't simply failure that drove him to art. It was a profound longing. Vincent believed that painting could be a way to communicate what words couldn't. He wrote to his brother Theo, "What I want is to touch people with my art. I want them to say, he feels deeply, he feels tenderly." Theo was his lifeline, both emotionally and financially. For years, Theo supported Vincent, sending him money, supplies, and, most importantly, encouragement. Their letters, over 600 of them, reveal the depth of their bond. In them, Vincent poured out his hopes, fears, and frustrations. Through these letters, we glimpse a man who felt deeply, so deeply that the world often seemed too sharp, too bright, too overwhelming for him. And yet, his intense emotions were also his greatest gift. They allowed him to see beauty in places others overlooked. The quiet dignity of a pair of worn boots, the golden glow of wheat fields, the stillness of a starry night. But life was unkind to Vincent. His work was met with indifference, even ridicule. In his lifetime, he sold only one painting. Imagine that. A man who created over 2,000 pieces of art, dying with almost no recognition. As the years went on, his mental health deteriorated. He suffered from seizures, hallucinations, and bouts of deep depression. And though modern doctors have speculated about what might have caused his condition, epilepsy, bipolar disorder, lead poisoning, at the time, no one understood him. He was labelled insane, dismissed, and cast aside. By 1889, after the infamous ear incident, Vincent voluntarily admitted himself to the asylum in Saint-Rémy. It was a place of stark contrast. The asylum's routine was strict, almost suffocating, but its gardens and the surrounding countryside were lush and full of life. Here, amidst the turmoil of his mind, Vincent painted some of his most extraordinary works. And this brings us back to the Starry Night. At the asylum, Vincent was given a small studio, but he was rarely allowed to leave the grounds. Instead, he painted what he could see, the gardens, the wheat fields, and the view from his window. That view, part real, part imagined, became the foundation of the Starry Night. But this wasn't just a landscape, it was something deeper, something spiritual. Vincent once wrote, "Looking at the stars always makes me dream. Why, I ask myself, Shouldn't the shining dots of the sky be as accessible as the black dots on the map of France? To him, the stars weren't distant or cold. They were alive, vibrant, almost within reach. In the starry night, the sky takes on a life of its own. The stars explode with light, their halos radiating energy. The moon glows like a lantern, and the swirling clouds seem to dance across the canvas. Below, the earth is dark and still, its houses and church dwarfed by the vastness above. The only vertical element piercing the sky is the cypress tree, a symbol of both death and eternal life. But here's the thing. The starry night isn't a faithful depiction of what Vincent saw. It's not a scientific rendering of the cosmos. Instead, it's an emotional landscape, a reflection of how the night made him feel. In that swirling sky, we see his longing for something greater, his hope, his despair, his connection to the infinite. And then there's the colour. The electric blues and yellows weren't chosen at random. For Vincent, colour was a language. He once said, "Instead of trying to reproduce exactly what I see before me, I use colour more arbitrarily in order to express myself more forcefully." In the starry night, the colours hum with emotion. The blues feel deep and meditative, while the yellows burn with intensity. This painting wasn't just about capturing the night. It was about capturing Vincent's soul. What is it about the starry night that moves us so deeply? Why does this painting, created in the confines of an asylum by a man struggling with his sanity, resonate across generations? The answer lies in its emotional duality. On one hand, the starry night is profoundly hopeful. The stars, so bright and alive, seem to promise something greater, an escape from the struggles of the earthbound life. The swirling sky draws the viewer upward, pulling us into the infinite. There's a sense of wonder here, a belief in the beauty and mystery of the universe. But on the other hand, the painting carries an undercurrent of despair. The small village nestled below feels lonely, almost insignificant against the grandeur of the cosmos, and that cypress tree reaching like a flame into the heavens hints at mortality. It's as if Vincent is grappling with the ultimate question: what does it all mean? For Vincent, the night was both a comfort and a torment. He wrote to Theo, "It often seems to me that the night is even more richly coloured than the day, coloured with the most intense violets, blues, and greens. If only you pay attention to it, you will see that certain stars are lemon yellow, others pink or green. And without my expounding on this, it does me good to do difficult things. It is good to be surrounded by the infinite. That yearning for the infinite, for something beyond the pain of the present moment, is what gives the starry night its power. It's a painting born of suffering, but not defined by it. Instead, it transforms pain into something transcendent. Vincent's swirling sky reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there's a vast, mysterious beauty surrounding us. But the starry night also reflects Vincent's unique relationship with religion. He grew up in a deeply religious household, and though he later rejected traditional faith, his work is infused with spiritual longing. The painting's church, its steeple reaching toward the sky, feels like a connection point between earth and heaven. And yet, Vincent doesn't place it at the centre of the composition. Instead, it's the natural world, the stars, the moon, the cypress, that take on a sacred quality. This wasn't a rejection of spirituality, but a reimagining of it. Vincent once wrote, "I feel a tremendous need for religion, so I go outside at night and paint the stars." For him, art became a form of worship, a way to connect with the divine. When Vincent painted the Starry Night, he couldn't have known it would become a masterpiece. In fact, he doubted its worth. In one of his letters to Theo, he dismissed it as a failure. He was wrong, of course. Today, the Starry Night is celebrated as one of the most iconic works in art history, instantly recognisable even to those who know little about painting. But in Vincent's lifetime, it was just another piece in a body of work that went largely unnoticed. This raises an uncomfortable question. What might Vincent have accomplished if he had lived to see his work appreciated? If he had felt the love and admiration we now pour onto his paintings? Sadly, we'll never know. Just a year after creating the Starry Night, Vincent would be gone, dying from a gunshot wound in what is widely believed to be a suicide. Yet, in his death, something extraordinary happened. Theo, devastated by the loss of his brother, worked tirelessly to promote Vincent's art. He believed in Vincent's genius, even when no one else did, and after Theo's own untimely death, his widow, Johanna van Gogh Bonga, took up the cause. She preserved Vincent's letters, organised exhibitions, and made sure the world knew his story. It was through her efforts that Vincent van Gogh went from a misunderstood recluse to one of the most beloved artists of all time. And the Starry Night, with its swirling skies and emotional depth, became a symbol of his unique vision, a vision that continues to inspire millions. In the end, the Starry Night isn't just a painting, it's a testament to the human spirit. It's about the struggle to find meaning in chaos, to create beauty in the face of pain. Vincent's life may have been filled with hardship, but his art reminds us that even in our darkest hours we can find light. Perhaps that's why the Starry Night feels so universal. It speaks to something deep within us, a longing for connection, a desire to transcend the mundane, a belief that beauty exists even in brokenness. It's a painting that invites us to dream, to wonder, to look up at the night sky and see not just stars, but stories. And maybe, in that act of looking, we're honouring Vincent's greatest wish, not just to be remembered, but to be understood.